Hello everyone and welcome to India Art Fair's online program series. My name is Uma Jacob and I lead programming, collector engagement and outreach at the fair. I'd like to specially welcome Marcel. A big thank you for taking the time to meet us today and allowing us into your wonderful whimsical world of colors and character. Now over to our dear friend at the fair, James Green, director at David Zwirner, London, and a member of IAF selection committee.
Good evening to everyone in India. Just a quick intro from me before I pass over to very much the main event, Marcel, with my dear colleague Julia Meckler, who are in our 69th Street Gallery in New York in Marcel's wonderful new exhibition. And really going back to the beginning, Marcel was born in 1974 in Winnipeg, Canada, and received his BFA from the University of Manitoba. And that was really the sort of start of the process and the journey that leads to the exhibition you see today. You know, picking out a few other highlights from over the years, this was a wonderful show in our gallery in New York in 2011. And then, you know, diving back into his film work and other aspects of the practice, this is Death Dance Disco, also from 2011. And these films are, searchable, and I would very much encourage you to go and watch all of these things too, if you haven't already. 2016, Marcel created the costume and stage design for the New York City Ballet's The Most Incredible Thing, which is based on the Hans Christian Andersen fairy tale. I think Marcel is also, while there's a very singular practice, he is the ultimate collaborator in so many ways, and one of the most fruitful collaborations over the year has been with Raymond Pettibon. This is an image from an exhibition they did together, Forgetting the Hand, in New York in 2016. The success of that exhibition led to a second project in London in our upper room, which you can see images of here. And last but certainly not least, the New York subway system has some great public art, some amazing public art now, thanks to Marcel. So hopefully when travel is allowed again and anyone who's going to be in New York, you will see this, which is titled No Less and Everything Comes Together. There are some works in the exhibition that connect to that. So I think there's no better time to say thank you to Marcel and pass over to New York on 69th Street. So yeah, Julia Meckler, Marcel Dzama, thank you, over to you.
Welcome to 69th Street here in New York. Marcel, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for this beautiful exhibition. It's your 11th exhibition at the gallery. You've been showing with David since 1998. We were just discussing. You've had an incredible year since the beginning of the pandemic. There was this, you did this exhibition called Pink Moon, which was online. Maybe some of you saw it online. Before we maybe get into the show, do you want to talk about a little bit about what Pink Moon was all about?
Yeah, so Pink Moon was done during the pandemic. So I kind of imagined myself in places I had traveled to, like India and Morocco and parts of Mexico, and I was using photos from those travels and altering them, but trying to live in those moments during this bleak time period here in New York. And so from that show, it almost, I don't feel like that show is a continuation of this one in a way. So this kind of led on, but this one goes a little more into the environment. Devastation from that.
Speaking of environment and devastation, this beautiful, originally you thought about it as being a diptych, but now they're two separate works. And I believe in India, you even showed one of these under the water scenes. Like there's multiple works in the show with under the water. And so what's your inspiration there?
So I was thinking of like Mother Nature and her almost like hiding from mankind in the ocean from all of the terrible things that we're doing, and so this is her taking down like an oil boat or something, and this one's her resting, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
And the mankind is kind of doing their warlike.
It's been quite a year with all the fires and everything happening around the world.
Yeah.
And
I was kind of imagining, well, just being here, I was kind of imagining the boats like represented the West Coast, and we were like the East Coast, where we're getting all these floods and they're getting all these fires.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think of that. And this is also kind of new, these splatters in your work, which I didn't really see before, and they're throughout the show. I think I listened to your podcast, and you mentioned that it has something to do with also your collaborations with Raymond, maybe?
Yeah. Collaborating with Raymond really kind of loosened up my practice. Like before, if I spilled something, I tried to clean it up as best as possible. Whereas Raymond would just leave it in, he'd leave in the drips and everything. And it's actually been really good for me to loosen up that way. And then there's a larger piece in the show where I even got my son.
Let's go this way.
I collaborated with him on it, and I got him to splash the paintings.
Oh, wow.
So
this one, wow.
Yeah, this one. So this one I did for a show in Savannah, Georgia.
Which we saw the images of, yeah. In addition to Pink Moon, you have there's a show that was at Savannah College of Art and Design, and then also the one in Finland. So it's been a busy year.
So this one, I did this right after Georgia turned Democratic so Biden won the election.
Right when Biden, exactly. When Biden
got the majority.
Yes.
And so this was kind of a celebration of the piece, or of that whole idea. And so like these spots, I'd get my son to drop paint, and he really enjoyed that. And there's even one where he spilled a bunch of ink secretly.
Oh, wow.
He went upstairs and spilled it. But then I kind of changed it into.
You would never think that. And you definitely feel the influence of nature, because you've been spending the past year in Long Island. Yeah.
And so, during the pandemic, my family, we moved to Long Island, and we were basically out in the woods, my son and I, like during that whole time period. And so it was nice to be close to nature. And he had only been in the city, so it was really nice to get that time together.
And have you ever worked in a large scale like this before? I mean, you did with Raymond.
Only with Raymond, And I guess on murals, like the show in India.
In India too.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy working?
Yeah, it was really exciting to have like a set deadline to make something large. So.
And what about the moon? Because it keeps reappearing in your work. Where does it originate from?
Well, with the Pink Moon show, I was finding when I started this series of kind of travel drawings when I did a series of drawings for Morocco. And the day we got to Morocco, there was like some large harvest moon. And then when I started doing the Pink Moon show, there was a large pink moon. And then it just seemed like we were getting these once every 100-year type of moons. So I really got obsessed with having the moon and everything.
Blue moon too.
Yeah, the blue moon. Yeah, blue moon of Morocco. And then also I was doing these subway murals or mosaics, and I wanted to bring the sun and the moon and an outdoor type feel to the underground. So that was also an influence too.
Oh, I see. And then the dancers. How early on did the dancers appear in your work? Like I know you did the New York City Ballet, but was even before then? Yeah, it was before that.
So that's kind of how I got the New York City Ballet gig from doing a show in 2000, maybe 14 or 15 at David Zwirner. It was a real dance heavy show, and the choreographer Justin Peck at New York City Ballet saw that show and decided to collaborate with me.
It's really beautiful. I mean, the mosaics are just incredible. This project started about 2 years ago, right? Or even more, maybe 3?
Yeah, probably proposal time period.
I love them. Should we, oh, actually, there's also this work. Should we talk about this one briefly?
You mentioned
We can mention. So this is top secret, but we will tell you.
Art India gets the
inside
breaking
scoop.
news.
Inside scoop. So we, the gallery and David Zwirner launched a website called Platform. You might have heard about it. It originated during the pandemic, where galleries at first at New York, maybe they didn't have an online viewing room or a means to show art online. We invited other galleries to show artists through this online portal and to sell the work of their artists. And it was super successful. And as a result, Platform has become its own website. And in addition to still showing work by other artists, the gallery through Utopia Editions will be showing prints by David Zwirner artists, but also other artists that they collaborate with. So Marcel will be the first artist that Utopia Edition collaborated with. And you want to talk about this work?
So this is the drawing I did for the print. So this is the original drawing. And so this one, I was actually inspired by the beginning of summer, because it was right around that time, or the beginning of spring, I guess, actually. So, and I had, originally this lady was smoking, and my son was saying, "Oh, why are they always smoking? Why don't you let her hold something else?" So originally she had a cigarette, and I just changed it into a flower.
That's cool.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. So it's going to be available in November, right before the holidays. And I mean, I think that we wanted it now, but it's a very labor-intensive print. I think it's 14 different colors.
Yeah, it's quite a few different colors.
So, which is why they're not ready. So let's go over to the other room. Should we finish with the MTA drawing?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Here's another of the MTA drawings. So this one's the sun heavy one. The other one's the
Who Loves the Sun, the title of the show. So the Who Loves the Sun comes from the Velvet Underground song. That's perfect. And what's, as we look at this cloud, you want to talk a bit about your interest in music? And maybe I know that there's some references here in the works, musical references too.
So the show, the title of the show is the Velvet Underground song. But my son and I, while we were, since he was out of school, we were playing a lot of music together, and he had heard that song before. He started singing it, so I just started playing guitar to it.
Sorry.
And and then I just like the idea of the show being kind of like a summer themed show, and so I thought that was a good title for it.
I like it too. I'm just looking at all of these, really incredible. They're so vivid in color, and you can tell like maybe your trip in Morocco influenced the.
Yeah, a lot of the patterns.
Because it changed a lot in the past year compared to before. Yeah. It's much more like vivid and colorful.
Yeah, it was kind of left backgrounds more bare in the past, and after just traveling, and I think I got obsessed with palm trees and that sort of just the way they looked, and just that idea of being somewhere else during that whole pandemic. They kind of represented being somewhere else for me. So. And
you mentioned to me some of the art historical references in these works. Maybe you want to talk about this one?
So the one non-nature.
That one
is a Marcel Duchamp influence piece. So he had done something similar with these kind of cubes falling for a chess, maybe perhaps like the chess Olympics back in like the 30s or 20s, and then there's also supposed to be Duchamp playing against
Picabia? Or no?
Yeah. Well, it could be Picabia. It's one of Picabia's dancers.
Oh, there you go.
But it's based on a photo of Duchamp playing some model or someone. I can't remember who it was. I know that she went out with Steve Martin at one point.
Oh, really?
She wrote a piece.
And the
Vanity
robot
Fair.
figures?
And the robot figures were based on chess pieces that I had done life-size chess costumes for a film I did called A Game of Chess.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was the queen. This was, I believe, like a rook or something.
But your obsession with chess comes from
comes actually from Duchamp.
Yes,
So,
Marcel.
yeah. So I was obsessed with Marcel Duchamp for the past, I don't know, it must be at least 10 years at least. And so I was trying to, anytime I could include any reference to Duchamp, I tried to.
Yeah.
But,
and also,
even here's a saying from one of
Duchamp's. I just realized that there's
one of his writings.
Hopefully they can show this work and you got it. I think, oh, there it is. That's what we're looking at right now. This will also be a platform print, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This one too. And you mentioned a great thing for me that I thought was interesting about these 4 figures, about the horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
I like that reference.
Yeah, so this was the idea of during being on vacation, but having that feeling of possible dread in the background.
Yeah, of the pandemic.
Because just before the pandemic hit, my family and I were on vacation in Mexico, and then things really happened quickly while we were there. And
this you can see, I mean, it's always clear Willem and Shelley appear in your work so often. Here's
that's my son.
Willem.
Actually, that's him.
That's probably
twice.
him. Yeah, he's there twice.
This was actually a friend of ours that was staying, but she kind of looks different.
That's funny.
Oh, and this was actually my friend's dog.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, here we have a few questions. Which iconic rock band inspired the title of Dzama's? Velvet Underground. Yes. Do I push Velvet Underground? Oh, here we go.
Should we put the title there?
Oh, yeah. There we go. The title of the show, Who Loves the Sun. Let me see what other questions I had about these works.
Oh, this was also another one that will be a print.
That will also be a print. It's so beautiful. And then, there's some works also here with the Midsummer Night's Dream references, because you did the drawings for the Shakespeare book that was just published a few months ago.
We did. There's this one, and then also. A modern take of Midsummer Night's Dream.
I'm just trying to see, because also your work can sometimes, it has a lot of political kind of undertones, but in this one here,
this kind of, there's a Democrat that's kind of standing in the way of a lot of progress here in the US. It's just one of them, Joe Manchin. I don't know if I'm getting too boring for
not at all,
but it kind of was like get out of the way type of situation.
But it's also based on.
Yeah. It's also based on a Goya reference of the Boogeyman or something like that. Yeah. I can't recall the title, but there's it's for one of his print series of political works.
Should we maybe go upstairs and look at your dioramas?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I hope it's not too loud. You turned it down? Some other noise. So. So if you can see us, this is Dance Floor Dracula, which we can also send in C minor, and we can send the Vimeo link if you want to watch it at home.
This is Raymond Pettibone that's playing like a disco Dracula.
And Amy Sedaris.
And this is Amy Sedaris as the director and one of the dancers.
It's fun. So let's take a look at this. I just think it's so interesting how you use the building's architecture. I'm going to post this.
all this was original to the building, so I wanted to do something in this section. So I ended up making these small sculptures that would fit in these showcases.
Yeah, they're really great.
A lot of them are based on Goya figures and my own, and most of my own work, of course. And some references to Joseph Beuys.
Manzoni.
And Manzoni. There's some artistic theses for Manzoni.
But you made these originally in...
Oh yeah, I originally made these in Guadalajara, Mexico, working with Jose Noy in, I believe maybe three years ago. I made these, the little figurines with him.
But it's interesting because you worked in, you've made dioramas in the past, so it's just nice how you are using the architecture here.
Yeah, originally I made these little boxes to hold them in, and I kind of felt they looked too much like doll houses, and I kind of wanted them to be a little more free, so I had them open stamping in these.
And remind me, where does the tin come from with the cross?
From a Joseph Beuys piece of, it's like a children's telephone where you tie you tie a string between two cans, and he had painted something similar. I think he did a red cross on it too. So and it was just a thing my son and I were making, and then I ended up liking it as a as like a stand for them to be on.
So should we take some questions? Can you see us? Okay, great. Hey, oh, here we have 5 questions.
Thank you for your wonderful video work.
Here we go. So which South Asian artists' works have you recently enjoyed looking at?
South Asian artists. Let's see. I'm kind of more influenced by like old, almost like mythology paintings from that sort of that sort of influence. From like mostly the mythological.
Yeah.
Like where the artist would probably be unknown or like.
So we have here such beautiful colors and imagery. And then someone's asking, I would be very curious to know more about how travel has influenced the show. Are there particular places special to Marcel being referenced? You mentioned Mexico, Morocco.
And India.
So
I just had been there before the pandemic had hit.
So when this pandemic is over, where do you want to go?
India.
India, there you go.
I know my audience. But I loved it there. So it would be great.
No, but we all basically during the pandemic traveled through your drawings, right? I was staring at those pools. Do you have any more zines or coloring books in the works?
We actually have a zine coming up for this show called Who Loves the Sun. I believe it'll be available in a month or so.
It will be. So we're in process of making it right now. Thank you, Marcel, David Zwirner India Art Fair, for this amazing walkthrough. Would love to know more about the influence of music on Marcel's work. So we mentioned that, but maybe you've done album covers in the past.
Yeah, I've done album covers for bands that or even people that I didn't know. But mostly friends. So it's like Beck, They Might Be Giants. One of my favorite things that I got to do was do a music video for Bob Dylan, the costumes, for a music video. And I've always been a huge fan of his work. And
you also just did the cover for the vinyl Museum of Love.
Yeah, Museum of Love. So,
band members of LCD
Sound System. So so in the last little while I kind of got more into dance music. So probably through them. Yeah. And then so I kind of, like, even with the video, I tried to do these kind of more kind of with humor and dance in it.
So this is an interesting question. Great talk. In terms of process, just curious about understanding how you deal with negative creative spaces, blues, etc. Does something come out of that? If yes, how? Does that make
negative spaces. Well, I guess in the last little while, if I find that something is kind of just sitting Well, usually I'll do some sort of setup of where the characters are, and then kind of figure out from that standpoint what will be the background. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Wait, I think we have another question. They keep appearing. 1 second. Hold on. You mentioned having illustrated a book. Have you considered animating these?
I did an animation a few times. One with the old-fashioned flip the drawings, which took forever, and maybe it was like a minute long or 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And another time, I did a music video with David Zwirner.
Who you just had the podcast with.
Oh yeah, I did a podcast with them.
Which is on DZ Dialogues.
in this band Nassau, and I think it was called People Tree. You could see it on YouTube somewhere.
Okay. I think we have one more. Thank you all. Can Marcel talk about the fun and challenges of working with so many different mediums? The work is fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I find that I like to change up mediums whenever I start to feel kind of more bored of one. Drawing is always a medium I go to, and then if I feel like I'm doing too much of it, I always want it to be fun and creative, so I'll switch to video or work on sculptures.
And you're also now using a new type of ink, right, on the work. Because you can't see it in the photographs, but there's like this pearlescent, shimmery.
Yeah, it's like this. It must be crushed
Yeah,
crystals
it's
or something.
beautiful. It's so beautiful.
So it kind of shimmers in this.
If you look at it at a certain angle,
it almost feels like when you're walking down the street in certain pavement where it kind of reflects.
Yeah, it's stunning. Yeah, it's beautiful. I think that was the last question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Marcel. Thank you, Yulia. Thank you, James. Thank you, Grace, and the whole team in New York. And to our audiences and patrons, thank you so much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn more about Marcel or the exhibition, please feel free to reach out to us at vip@indiaartfair.in. And see you all soon for another special presentation next month. Details to follow shortly. Thank you and goodbye.